welcome back to another episode of the Life's Playbook podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this is season 6, episode 3. The Life's Playbook podcast. And yes, I know I said I was going to put my foot down on the ground and we were going to get through season 6 flawlessly. But there were no episodes dropped last week because I got caught up. I just bought a car, so I've been busy working on maintaining it, buying all these things to spice it up. So that's where all my time has been, and I've been working a lot. But now we're back, and we're going to continue cruising through season 6. We're going to continue cruising through season 6. Having said that, we got a lot to talk about today. A couple performances, a couple games I want to highlight in the NFL, as the NFL is finally here. Thank God. Week 1 is finally come went. So it's time to give the first official NFL recap. NFL Week 1 recap. So we're going to talk about that, as well as my displeasure for my fantasy team. Because my fantasy team did absolutely awful. I'm not happy with my team, but there is good news at the end of the tunnel with my fantasy squad. So we're going to recap Week 1 of the NFL. We're going to talk about not all the games, but we are going to talk about some key performances, as I said, and some key games that I want to highlight and talk about here. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do today. Before we get started with today's episode, make sure to download Prize Picks, the most elite sports fantasy app, and let me know how your fantasy teams did Week 1, because I'm going to tell you right now, mine did awful. Awful. And that was very unexpected, and you will find out why later on in the episode. So, let me know how your fantasy team did for Week 1 and how they're shaping up for Week 2. Having said that, let's recap some of the key moments of Week 1. I'm not going to talk about my team. Surprisingly, I'm not going to talk about my team and how they did. I watched every minute of that game, and I think Bengals fans can agree with me. I know Browns fans are definitely going to agree with me. One, Andre Smith, you suck, buddy. You suck. Now, granted, it is only Week 1, and it was his first ever NFL game, so I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack, but those were 2 easy kicks that all he had to do was make, and we probably wouldn't have even been in the situation that we were in. Joe Flacco, didn't play bad, but, it's those costly turnovers that Flacco gives us every now and then that's just, it's costly. Those 2 turnovers, I mean, granted, the last one at the end of the game wasn't really his fault. That was kind of on Tillman. But it is what it is. But I'm not going to dive too deep into how my team did. I'm just, we gonna move on from that game. Bengals fans, y'all know you should have lost. Browns fans, y'all know we should have won. We should have won that game. But Week 1, we're still figuring things out. I'd love to say the road for my Cleveland Browns is going to get easier, but it is not, as we play the Ravens, and we're going to talk about the Ravens and the Bills game. That's one of the biggest key moments I want to highlight. So we play the Ravens Week 2, and they're going to be out for blood because it's no secret that they choked. 15-point lead to the Bills. So yeah, Browns. Hey, the road doesn't get easier. We gotta start making these kicks, and Flacco, who knows how long he's gonna be in. If he keeps playing like that, if those turnovers keep looming over him, we may be seeing a different quarterback come Week 5, Week 6 maybe. But early. So everything I'm about to say is not going to be too critical because it's still early and it's only Week 1. So I got to cut a lot of the people I'm going to talk about some slack because it is only Week 1. First things first. Let's talk about the Raiders and the Patriots because I did say that that was a statement game for both teams, the Raiders and the Patriots. I still think both teams are going to do exceptionally well. Obviously, the Raiders end up winning that game. Ashton Gentry's official pro debut. I saw he had a touchdown. Now, again, I didn't watch. I didn't watch every single game Sunday. So y'all gonna have to bear with me. But I saw Ashton Jenney had a touchdown in his debut, and Geno Smith's debut as a Raider looked pretty good, looked pretty solid. Um, I think again both teams are going to do exceptionally well. Still don't think the Raiders are going to get very far. I do think the Patriots are going to get further down the line. But they didn't look bad. It wasn't a bad game. I believe I picked New England to win that one, so I was wrong on that one. New England ended up losing that game, but not a bad performance by Drake May and company, and not a bad performance obviously for the Raiders and Ashton Jentry in his pro debut. It's going to be exciting to watch that brother. I'm gonna keep an eye on that brother and his stat lines all throughout the season because it's going to be exciting. Having said that, so shout out to the Raiders and Raider Nation. Y'all are 1-0 right now. But I'm still standing strong with the Patriots. I'm still riding the Patriots hype train. Speaking of hype train, let's go straight to the Monday Night Football game that was yesterday with J.J. McCarthy and company. J.J. McCarthy making his first official NFL debut against Caleb Williams in year 2 with the Chicago Bears and Ben Johnson's head coaching debut. And I'm here to tell you that it looked smooth for the first 3 quarters for Chicago, and then it just plummeted per usual. That's typical Chicago football. Caleb Williams, if you look at the stats compared to, if you compare JJ's stats and Caleb Williams' stats, you expect somebody who's going into year 2 to outshine his opponent. And if you look at the stats, he really didn't outshine JJ. Now, I'm not going to use that to slight the man, tremendously because it is only one game and they only lost by 3 points at the end of the day, 27-24. So there's a lot of things. There was a lot of positives that the Bears had, but it's no secret that Caleb Williams still has a long way to go before he can be as polished and and professional that we want him to be. There's still a long way for Caleb Williams to go. So hey, I'm not going, because a lot of people out there in the media are talking about, the game yesterday, and you know, a lot of people are already starting to call Caleb a bust. I'm not going to call him that just yet because I think it's still way too early in his career, and just because he got outshined by a guy who was making his first ever debut doesn't mean that he's a bust. It doesn't mean he's a bust. I still think there's a lot of hope for that Bears team. I'm still riding the Bears hype train because if y'all have seen all my previous videos talking about the Bears coming up to week 1, I'm a huge Bears bandwagon, I'll say. I'm on the Bears hype train. So I'm still on that hype train. Again, obviously the game showed us that there's still a lot that needs to be worked on for Caleb. Caleb's not perfect yet. I am not expecting Caleb Williams to be perfect in year 2, and a lot of us really shouldn't be expecting him to be perfect and polished in year 2 just yet. We expect a jump? Yes, we do. We expect a major jump? Yes, we do, but we shouldn't expect this guy to be like, you know, Pro Bowl level jump in year 2, I think. So we got to cut Caleb just a little bit of slack. Now, J.J. McCarthy, he played well. He brought the Vikings back into the game in the 4th quarter. So I got to give my flowers to that brother. He played well. Again, early in the first quarter, first and second quarter, it was looking murky. It was looking rough for the Vikings early. Again, obviously I had to go to bed at halftime. I went to sleep at half. I had to get up for work, so I didn't get to see the final second half. But I saw the highlights. I saw his stats. He had two tutties. We did have a pick, but those things are going to happen. And the dude is making his first ever NFL debut. But he quite literally carried the Vikings on his back and brought the team to the dub. Again, I said it earlier in my previous videos prior to this when I was talking about, guys that are due for a good season. I said it earlier. I said JJ, he doesn't have to be spectacular, but he has to be solid. And that kind of performance is exactly what the Vikings need out of him moving forward, if not better. Because, again, we want to see him improve. We want to see JJ improve. The Vikings want to see JJ improve. But for right now, that type of performance is more than enough for the Vikings to work with. I think JJ is going to continue to develop and grow, and he could be special. I think the Vikings could still have their guy. I think the Vikings still have their guy, and I think they know it. He's just going to be a piece of art to work on. But very good overall NFL debut for JJ and company. Um, very good. If you are a Justin Jefferson fantasy owner, you are probably hitting the wall right now because that dude barely got any targets, any looks. So RIP JJ fantasy owners. I am not a Justin Jefferson fantasy owner, so I can't speak on Justin Jefferson's performance. And again, it is only week one. It is only week one. A lot of wide receiver ones were having rough games, including Jerry Jeudy. And I'm going to talk about Jerry Jeudy when I talk about my fantasy team because I was I can't stress it enough. I was very disappointed in how my fantasy team did. So Jerry Jeudy did not have a good day in the office, but again, it's only week one. These guys, they're shaking off the off-season rust and the preseason rust, and they, down the line, obviously they're going to get into full swing, and you won't be seeing guys drop routine passes in games because that was a big thing that I saw across for many teams, wide receiver ones. But anyways, Vikings got the job done. I picked the Vikings to get the job done here because, hey, I trusted Kevin O'Connell and JJ to get the job done despite him being unproven. So good job for the Vikings. They got the job done. Moving on. Couple other games that I want to shout out is the Tampa Bay Atlanta game. That was a good game. Emeka Ibuka had a great day. 2 touchdowns. One of them was the game winner. So shout out to Emeka Ibuka and Tampa Bay getting the job done. I picked them to win over the Falcons early. I think that in the end that they'll split the series. But hey, I said it in my prediction video. Tampa Bay is going to jump on them early, and that's exactly what they did. So shout out to Emeka Ibuka and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for getting the job done. Got that one right. And not the Buccaneers. Tennessee at Denver. Cam Ward, he looked okay. And I'm really only shouting this game out because one, this was another game I got right. I picked the Broncos to win this one, and they did. But I really want to shout out and talk about Cam Ward's performance. Again, I didn't watch the full game, but I did see highlights, and he looked okay. He looked decent. I wouldn't say them losing is exactly on him. Obviously, there are still flaws with his game, and obviously there are things that he's going to have to work on down the line. But I think he is going to improve. Whether the team overall improves remains to be seen. But I think there's still a lot of upside for him. I'd say the loss for Tennessee was really everybody else around Cam Ward, just not really stepping up. The O line, not really stepping up. The receivers dropping balls, and again, receivers dropping balls was a common theme in this week. But some of these passes that I saw from Cam Ward were kind of routine passes that any normal NFL quarterback would make, and a lot of these receivers were dropping them. So I would say, the Titans losing that game to Denver, it's not really on Cam Ward. Although Cam Ward's got some things he's got to fix, I wouldn't say the loss is necessarily on Cam Ward. So he looked decent. Cam Ward looked decent. Again, I picked Denver to win that one, and they did. So I want to shout out that and Cam Ward's performance. Again, week one, so I can't be too critical of a lot of things that I saw and saw, and a lot of the stat lines on certain players. Because it's only week one, and these are things that are going to get fixed. Shout out Jets and Steelers game, probably second best game of that day. Obviously, the Steelers ended up winning. I think it was 34-32. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Aaron Rodgers had himself a field day against his former team, that being the New York Jets. He had a field day with 4 tutties in a single game. Dude, he was moving with a purpose and he was moving on a mission. So shout out to Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. If they keep up that pace, they could be a real threat to not only the Ravens but obviously the Bengals and my Cleveland Browns. So shout out to the Steelers for getting the job done. The Jets didn't look bad either. I thought the Jets had a lot of things well, and they did a lot of things well. And Justin Fields didn't look that bad. You could argue that there are some defensive faults on both teams because they both let up 30 points each. So you could argue the defenses need some improvements. But the Jets offensively didn't look bad, and they got a lot of things going for them. I hope Brees Hall is one of them because I am a fantasy Brees Hall owner. So I hope Brees Hall is one of those things going for him. I get it. He had 160 yards, but that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough. So hopefully Brees Hall can get more touches and actually get in the end zone because I really need that moving forward for my fantasy team. So Brees Hall, if you see this, let Justin Fields know that you need to get in the end zone and you need to rack up them points for fantasy owners, for Brees Hall fantasy owners. So shout out to the Steelers Jets game, arguably the second best game of that day. Aaron Rodgers moving with a purpose, reminding us all that he can still ball out. Still got gas in the tank. He can still ball out. And Justin Fields didn't look bad. I want to say that Justin Fields and his offensive company didn't look bad. Lots to look forward to. Which brings us to the game of the day. Obviously, the very first Sunday night football game. Real quickly, one more shout out I want to shout out: Chargers Chiefs. Shout out that game because I had the Chargers in an upset, and y'all can go back to my prediction video. I had the Chargers in an upset here, and they got the job done. So shout out to the Chargers for getting the job done over the Chiefs. Obviously, with that loss, there's a lot of skepticism now on the Chiefs and if they're the same team. I'm not going to do that. I think the Chiefs are still the same team. I think the Chiefs, again, the Chiefs in the regular season, they're not anything to write home about, but it's not like, that one loss isn't going to dictate how the rest of their season goes. I think the Chiefs will still be a phenomenal team in the regular season. But shout out to that game because I had the Chargers in an upset and they got the job done. So shout out to Justin Herbert and company. Justin Herbert, outside of Josh Allen, by the way, was the only guy on my fantasy team to rack up anywhere close to 30 points. Obviously, Josh Allen racked up about 40 for my team. So him and Jay Herbert were really the only ones that got 20 plus points on my team. And yes, that should tell y'all how my fantasy day went. So shout out that. Well, let's talk about the game itself. Let's get to the game of that day, and that is the Ravens and Bills game. Well, I had the Ravens winning that game because I thought they were the better team overall, and this is arguably their year. This is the best team Lamar Jackson has ever had. I had the Ravens winning that one because I thought objectively they had the better team. They didn't. They lost the game by 1 point, so it's not like it's a oh my goodness, is this boom or bust for the Ravens? Is this team a boom or bust already? Not a huge loss, but I don't know. I just thought it would be different, especially considering the fact when you factor in that the Ravens had a 15-point lead heading into the fourth quarter, and Derrick Henry was having a field day. Derrick Henry was having a field day on the boys, as well as Lamar Jackson, and I thought they were going to get the job done. 15-point lead. I thought to myself, there's no way they could choke that, and I don't want to say typical Ravens fashion, but in typical Ravens fashion, they did. Now, credit to Josh Allen and them boys coming back, and that was just an absolute cinema of a game. Again, the game overall was great. Game overall was great. Absolute cinema. Both these teams are still going to be in the playoffs, and they'll still have phenomenal seasons. Again, I said I wasn't going to trip out over either or who won or lost this game, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to trip out. So shout out to them boys. Josh Allen and company. Very good performance overall offensively for the Bills. Obviously, them coming back. Slow start in the beginning, though. So that's some things they got to work on moving forward. Slow start at the beginning, but no doubt that they won't fix that moving forward. Lamar and company, a lot of great things. Well, they ran the ball very well. Defense was good up until obviously the fourth quarter. It was good, but there was still a lot of things that the Ravens can build off of. Ran the ball well, threw the ball well. Lamar Jackson looked good. Um, so yeah, none to put your heads down about, Ravens fans. Y'all still gonna have an elite season. Y'all still gonna have an elite season. Um, because we can't be blowing 15-point leads. That's all I'm about to say. We can't be blowing 15-point leads. But shout out to that game. That was easily game of the day. Easily game of the day outside of the Steelers Jets game. Again, I still think both teams are going to be playoff teams moving forward. I think they might even face each other moving forward in the playoffs. Um, excuse me. So lots to look forward. Lots to look forward for both teams. Having said that, before I wrap up with today's episode, I gotta talk to y'all about how my fantasy team did real quickly. If y'all haven't got a chance already to check out my TikTok on my personal account, go ahead and check it out because that pretty much sums up exactly what happened for my fantasy team. It was a disaster. And this will kind of be, fantasy talk throughout NFL videos will kind of be a thing. So y'all get used to it because I want to know how y'all's fantasy seasons are doing, how your leagues are doing, and I'm going to tell you how my teams are doing. So y'all get used to it. I will be talking about fantasy football quite a bit in and out of each, throughout each episode. But having said that, y'all, well, first off, I lost at my first game. Lost my first game of the season, 128.76 down 148.46. Now that's not the killer. The killer was prior to week 1, I was projected to win that game. I was projected to win that game prior to week 1. Now, good news is moving forward into week 2, I'm projected to win again. I'm projected to win again. 52% chance of winning. But the kicker is going back to my first game, my previous game. Again, Josh Allen played superb. He gave me pretty much 40 points, 38.76 points. J. Herb played superb, 27.92 points. Superb performances by both quarterbacks. But everybody else was just terrible. Everybody else on my team was terrible. Jahmyr Gibbs, 19 yards, terrible. Again, it is only week 1, and this is just fantasy talk. So, in the end, in reality, this isn't anything really serious. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he'll turn it up, obviously, in the season. But 15 points, I thought he was going to have a monster of a day. Um, the Lions in general just didn't have a good day. I didn't have a good day. The Lions didn't have a good day. And shout out Micah Parsons and his very good Packers debut, recording a sack, getting pressures, getting tackles. So shout out to Micah Parsons in his first Packers debut, first ever Packer debut. Shout out that brother. But anyways, again, Brees Hall, he had 107 yards, gave me 16 and a half points. It was decent. BTJ, 9 points, decent. But and Jerry Jeudy, this brother, Flacco, if you continue to be the quarterback, I need you to target Jerry Jeudy way more. If you're going to be the quarterback, Joe Flacco, moving forward, I need you to target Jerry Jeudy because this brother is starting in my fantasy team. So if y'all are a Jerry Jeudy owner, let me know how y'all feel about his first performance for your fantasy squad. Oddly enough, Cedric Tillman had a decent day. I had Cedric Tillman on my bench. He had a decent day. Um, so that's something to look forward to. But I need Jerry Jeudy. to have a great day. I need Jerry Judy to get the looks, to get the catches, to get the passes. Overall, my bench outshined my starting lineup. And the killer is I was projected to win that week. Still projected to win next week. Again, y'all let me know how y'all fantasy teams are doing right now in y'all fantasy leagues. Let me know how your team is doing right now. But for my team, it was disastrous. Disastrous week one. Did not expect to get blown out like that at all. Hopefully, everybody on my starting lineup actually gets involved and actually, makes some plays. So, having said that, again, let me know how y'all fantasy teams are doing. And again, if y'all are wondering why I'm talking about fantasy, get used to it, because I will be talking about fantasy in and out throughout throughout the episodes. Cause with the NFL being back, that means fantasy football is back. And I know fantasy football is just a fun little sum for the fans, but hey, I'm trying to rebound from last year. Because last year was my first year and it was very disastrous. So, y'all, fantasy football will be talked about on the show. And I will be asking y'all how y'all's teams did and how y'all leagues are looking up. But I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're in my league and you see this, my team is 0-1. But we gon' bounce back week two. We gonna bounce back week two. Having said that, this has been season 3, season 6, episode 3 of the Life's Playbook podcast. We gonna get the ship sailing. We gonna cruise through the season. We gonna get the ship sailing. I got the car. My car is all figured out and done with, so I ain't got to put any more money into that. So I can devote more time to this. Let me know let me know how you and your team did fantasy wise, and how you thought your team did week one. Let me know what you think about JJ's performance. If you're a Vikings fan, let me know what you think about JJ's performance as he made his first NFL debut. Let me know if you're a Bears fan. Let me know about Caleb Williams. Is he already shaping up to be a bust or not? I personally think he's not shaping up to be a bust right now. I just think it's going to be a long road. I think it's going to be a long road for that brother, but I think he's still the guy. So let me know your thoughts on the Monday night game, as well as how your team did week one. And do you think your team, if they lost, can rebound week two? Or if the road gets difficult, like for my Cleveland Browns when we play the Raiders. Till then, I'll catch you guys Friday for season 6, episode 4 of the Life's Playbook podcast. Till then, peace out.